We somehow believe that when we turn 18, a magical rock's gonna like fall out of the sky and whack us in the head and just share with us how in the world to handle these complicated financial situations that now are facing us in adulthood. A lot of people don't have that information, right? They were not taught it. Unfortunately, the school system's not teaching it. Hey guys, and welcome back to Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jax Crider, and today I have Miss Sam on with us. And she is a very dear friend of mine, somebody that I met who is a little bit younger than me. We'll just say that, right? We'll not give away how exactly old I am. But anyhow, you guys know if you've listened to any of my podcasts that I am not the spring chicken, as my Oma used to say. And so that's perfectly fine. But Sam is a really smart, intelligent woman. She just graduated with her master's degree. She's really passionate about social work and, helping people kind of understand. And as she and I had conversations about money in the financial space, she was sharing with me that, she doesn't maybe have as much financial education from her past, from her family and things like that. And I said, well, why don't we have you come on the show and tell a little bit about yourself and then have some conversation around questions that you've had come up or things you'd like to know. And that's something that I think a lot of people are afraid to do, is just like raise their hand and ask questions. So I am very appreciative of her that she is not afraid to put herself out there and ask questions. So I'm going to let Sam, you introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners and we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sam. She says that I'm not afraid, but I was afraid to even speak out on this because it's embarrassing not knowing, especially being this age and graduating with your master's. Not knowing this information is kind of embarrassing for me, but this is why I wanted to join this podcast and this episode, because I want to gain that knowledge and I want to be able to share this information with other people in the future. So I want to soak in all information that Miss Jax has and apply it into my life. And I want to be able to be financially free, so yeah.
Well, yeah. And like, the biggest thing is that I will tell everybody is, for whatever reason, and I have no idea, we have a lot of shame surrounding financials. We somehow believe that when we turn 18, a magical rock's gonna like fall out of the sky and whack us in the head and just share with us how in the world to handle these complicated financial situations that now are facing us in adult. And the truth of the matter is that, first of all, number one, a lot of people don't have that information, right? They were not taught it. Unfortunately, the school system's not teaching it. And if you didn't grow up in a family where you were taught that, then don't have shame surrounding the fact that you don't know anything about money. Okay. I don't know. Sam and I have a mutual friend. Her name is Evelyn. And what I was teasing Evelyn about when she came and we were kind of working together is I was like, hey, don't let all the adults convince you that just because you're a baby adult that you don't know anything and that they have all their stuff together, because they don't. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just so we're clear, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to grow up to be. So it's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out. And so if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's me, I don't want to ask the questions, I'm afraid, it's okay. I promise you're not the only one out there who feels that way, right? Sam is a perfect example. Like she said, she feels like she should know all this stuff. But why? Just because you have a master's degree didn't mean that you got education in money, right?
Exactly.
It's not a required course, as you know.
Yeah,
Should
and
be.
exactly that. Yeah, it should be. And that's kind of the stigma behind it all. I feel that, especially in my culture, that's not something that they grow up teaching you. So I did want to mention, if people can't see me, I am a Mexican American. I come from a Mexican background, so my family and I'm the first generation American here, and everyone else isn't. And so for my family, all they had to do is work, and find out how they can survive in this world. And so, but I think that they had it together for the most part, but I wasn't in those conversations growing up. I had to just translate and do all that work, but I didn't have anything to do with the financial situation. So they took care of that. And even now, like, I don't know how they did all of those things. I don't know how. They just didn't have those conversations with me. They didn't teach me from a young age. And so I wish that they did, but I think that they were just so busy working all day. And so I didn't even get to spend time with my family. My mom, like that, she was a single parent. So she was just constantly busy, and I was at my grandparents' house, and they weren't telling me anything about that. They didn't know anything either. So
Right.
that's exactly why I wanted to
Well, and
learn.
I was gonna say that's what I was gonna explain. So like there's all this shame surrounding it, but if you really pull back the layers, what you're gonna realize is probably the reason that your parents and stuff like that didn't really talk about it is there was some shame for them that they
Yeah.
didn't know more. Maybe they knew some because of either life experience or maybe they had a little bit of a mentor kind of come beside them and show them a little bit of the path. But the truth of the matter is that this is not common sense stuff. I mean, some of it when you break it all the way down does become common sense, but on its face, when you think about it, it's not common sense. So people beat themselves up so much about, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I don't understand that. Well, the truth of the matter is, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
Yeah.
there's literally nothing wrong with that. And we have to normalize that there shouldn't be shame
Mhm.
surrounding something that you were literally not taught,
Yeah.
right? And we don't prioritize it in schools. I'm not really sure why that is, but we don't. My stepdaughter actually took a class in high school, but it was an elective called Dollars and Cents. And I was at least happy to see that there was a class, but it was an elective. And I'm like, why are you sending these kids out into the world as adults with like, very little information? But that is just the truth. Like it's that way. And culturally, money is has a lot to do with how you grow up, right? Some people's parents are very big on bringing them into the conversation. Other cultures, no, right? Like we do not discuss money. It's not something you ask about. In fact, you could kind of be in trouble if you ask about money, right? In some cases. And I think a lot of people don't know that or they worry about that. And so, like I said, they won't raise their hand because they're like, well, I wasn't allowed to talk about that growing up.
Mhm.
Right. And maybe it's because, like I said, your mom just may not have had time, right? She's always out working. She's trying to do her part to make sure to put a roof over you and your siblings' head.
Exactly.
And grandma and grandpa, they don't feel like it's their place, maybe necessarily to step in and share that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. I
And,
think
and
that's.
it is, it's a challenge. So I will tell you a little bit of like why I kind of know a fair bit about money, besides the fact that I do work in the financial space.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, your go-to podcast for making smart money decisions. We break down complex financial topics into easy-to-understand advice you can use every day. Our experts cover everything from budgeting and saving to investing and retirement planning. We give you the tools to take control of your money and build the future you want. With Financial Mastery Simplified, you'll feel informed and empowered to make the best choices for your financial health. Tune in to Financial Mastery Simplified on your favorite podcast platform. Start your journey to financial confidence today.
Thanks for your patience. Now back to our conversation.
My mom was adamant about financial education from day one. And the reason she was adamant is because she grew up very poor. So my mom grew up basically of two, one immigrant, one non-immigrant, but he was raised like, so my family is German by descent. My mother is full German, and her father was like a first generation American, and her mother was from Germany, like off the boat, didn't even speak English when she came to America at all. And they were very poor. They both worked like dogs. I mean, just worked there to death, right? My mom talks about how she was a latchkey kid. She basically at kindergarten was letting herself in and out of her house. There wasn't really anybody there raising her. And I think she wanted to change that. And so for me and my brother, she made sure that we were going to know about money because she was never going to be broke again. That's how she felt. Is I grew up broke. I don't want this to continue in my family or whatever. And so good for her, right? For learning and asking questions, raising her hand, doing the research to make sure that she was that way, and then doing that with myself and my brother. So for those of you listening, if you have small children, I highly, highly encourage you to include money into the conversation, even if you are not perfect with it. It does not matter. The earlier you start and the more you start the conversation, the easier it will be for them to transition. Because, like I
Mhm.
said, my mom has a saying. She says, we are not raising children, we're raising adults. And that's the truth. We are. You will do them a huge favor by starting these conversations early and often. My stepdaughters have a joke. They say that every time we got in the car, it was life lessons with Jacqueline, that we always were talking about money or how things affect you. But that's exactly how kids learn and learn to normalize it, right?
I wish I had that experience growing up. I seen like maybe TikTok videos or just for the most part TikTok their parents nowadays, they are, making sure that kids know. So they'll have like, say for instance, they were having a movie night and they have like cute little snacks or something, and this costs 1 cent, and they'll give the child, maybe an allowance or something, and the child pays for it. And so like I feel like that's teaching them in some way, in some form. So you're saying keep them, even if you're not perfect, just somehow include them in that. And I feel like that's such a great way, regardless of how you do it, just do it, because they are going to keep, learning somehow when they get older. So I think it's really good, and I wish I had that experience.
Yeah, so my mom, what she did with us is we had these like 3 baby food jars. My brother had one and I had one. We got a weekly allowance. It wasn't like a lot of money, but it was like things we got paid for doing chores. And then there was savings, spending, and tithe. And they got put in equal amounts. The tithe one, we didn't have a choice. We got to give that to the church, whether you like that or not or whatever. That was my mom's feelings on teaching us how to be responsible in that respect as well. And then the rule is that you could take the money out of the savings and put it into spending and go spend it if you wanted, or if you put it from, if you had all your money from spending and you put it into savings, right, then that money would actually double the next week. Now, obviously, we know in the real world, you don't get your money doubled if you put it in savings. I wish. I mean, that'd be some great interest rates. Let's just be real. But
Right.
it was sort of to try to encourage us to learn that savings isn't bad and it can have really good results, right? Really positive
Yeah.
consequences. And so that was sort of what that was. And I will tell you, my mom was very strict on this. If we went to the store and we asked for anything, the very first question she asked us was, do you have your money? And if the answer was yes, she was like, great. Do you have the money to afford that? And she would make us figure it out. Like, she would help if we asked, but like, we had to know. We had to know, like, how much money did we have? Could we afford the thing? And we had to understand tax too. Because if I had $20 and I was trying to buy a $20 item, she'd say, okay, you don't have enough to buy that. And I'd say, but yes, I do, Mom. I have $20. I have enough to buy this item. And she'd say, no. How much is the tax on that? And I'd say, well, what's that? And then we would have a conversation about what tax was, right? And like why we have to pay it and how much it is, right? So a lot of times I think people think that it's like these complicated concepts, but it really does start like really small. It just starts with like little conversations, like as far as like children are concerned. When it comes to your own education, I think it literally also starts small. Okay, like what basic skill set do we need to start off life, right? Well, we probably need our own bank account so we have a place to put our money, right? We need to understand our paycheck, right? So like when we go out to the workforce and we're working, how do we read a paycheck? What does it look like? What are like the different kinds of taxes? Because so many people don't know, right? Like if you never worked before, you've never seen amounts come out on your paycheck, you have no idea what like FICA is, Social Security, like, I'll never forget, like when my stepdaughter started working, it was a requirement in our household. You had to get a job before you turn 18. You had to have some kind of job. It didn't have to be a big job. You had to have something. And I made sure that the very first paycheck they got, we took it and we broke it out. And I explained what all of the pieces are, right? So again, I think people think that financial education has to be this big, difficult, hard thing. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm actually in the process, and I think I told you, Sam, of standing up a bunch of courses that go from like uber complicated, like mortgage and like how you get there, big ticket, all the way back down to like super simple, like how do we set up a bank account, right? How do we read a paycheck stub? Like all these kinds of things, because people they have a lot of shame surrounding that. And honestly, most professionals, if they're in this space, they'll answer your questions, I promise. Or you can find resources like this, when you've got time.
Exactly. And I remember when I first started working, again, my mom didn't teach me anything about them taking taxes out. Or I remember I was like, what is gross pay? And why are they taking, like, why does this look more than what I'm actually getting? And I used to get so mad. And I remember I was like 17 or 18, I started working at Amazon, and I had moved out around this time. And I remember I would get so much money. At least I thought when I was 18, I was like, this is so much money and I'm making so much, but why are they taking so much out of my account? And so I was always confused, and I never received those answers. So I would Google, because I didn't understand, and I didn't have again, that resource, or my mom to help me out, or anyone to break it down for me. So I love that you were able to do that for your children, and break it down for them, because again, there is that shame where you're like, why? And it's just, I don't know, it's just confusing.
Well, and I'm convinced that some parents don't have the conversations because they don't exactly know the answers. And so
Yeah,
they don't want to seem stupid. But I'm telling
yeah,
you right now, again, if you're listening to this and you have children, the best thing you could teach them is that you do not have all the answers and that it's okay to raise your hand and say, I don't have all the answers. Because I mean, even with all my degrees, right? And I've done mortgage for over 20 years and I have a law degree and all of these things. Guys, I still have to look up answers. I still look up answers about mortgage. I still have to make sure that I look up the answer when it's something legal. And these are things I have like degrees in that I've spent extensive amount of time. So here's me putting myself out there telling you I don't have all the answers either. I do my best and I have a lot more answers than most people have, right? But if I don't know the answer, I'm going to Google, ask another professional, get a resource or whatever, right? And the most beautiful part about today is think about it. Sam, you were able to Google that. When I was about your age,
yeah,
that was kind of a thing, but not really.
yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot less resource. And so even though it is a little overwhelming with how many resources and how many choices you have, at least you can find the information, right?
That is so true. I love how accessible it is to us, and I love also, like, it's not just Google. I don't know if you're on TikTok, but TikTok also helps, and you have people like like yourself, talking about these things and helping others out. So I love seeing that we can use our platforms to help others, and it doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be rocket science. It can really be like really easy to understand, and I love people who can break it down, because some people, we are a little slower than others, and so we need like smaller and small, like we need to understand it. So I feel like, me, when it comes to anything that has to do with math and anything, I'm like, I check out, and I'm like, I don't get it. So I need those baby steps. I don't need you to hold my hand, but I need you to break down a little bit so I can understand.
Sure.
If I can't understand it, and I feel like I can, once I know how to explain it to others, I'm like, okay, I know it. So the more you break it down for me, the more I understand, and the more I can help others in the future. So
Well,
that's
I was
all.
gonna say that's a really interesting point that you made. That if you can explain it to others, and it's so true, if you can teach somebody else what
Yeah,
you just learned, then you know you understand it. So if
yeah,
you can't go and explain it to somebody else who doesn't understand that information, then you know that you're probably have a pretty good handle on
yeah,
whatever it is,
mm,
right?
yeah,
And I mean, and the thing about it is that financial things, and this is why, again, I started making this podcast, is people don't realize, like, first of all, how much it affects literally your everyday life. I mean, it touches pretty much everything, and how many things go into it. Again,
exactly.
this is why I say don't feel shame surrounding this, right? I mean, you've got things like mindset. Mindset is a factor, right? You've got the history of your family, right? How they've utilized money in past.
Exactly.
Okay. Did they share anything about money with you? And sometimes families share stuff that's not helpful or effective, right?
Exactly.
About money. And that can really change and shape how you utilize money and how you look at money or whatever, right?
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Hello, and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4-693-733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Now back to our conversation.
Remind yourself as you become an adult, regardless of what you ever got told about money, now it's your opportunity to go out there and make your own mistakes, to ask your own questions, to understand it in your own way, to put your own mindset surrounding it, right? Because you might have totally different goals. I mean, I will tell you. So for instance, my mother, remember I told you she's big time on education on the money side. I was required to read Sound Mind Investing in 6th grade. Yes, you heard that right. I got the Sound Mind Investing in 6th grade, and I was required to read it and sort of more or less do a book report on it, because this is just my mom. She is very much this way. She used to be a teacher at one point. And so, like, it's very reasonable for her to expect her children to do book reports about whatever the heck she felt like it was important. And I'm different than her on a lot of respects. Like, there is 100% stuff that I spend money on that she thinks is a waste of money. In fact, unfortunately, she still likes to remind me of that. And I am well old enough to not necessarily need the reminder of, Mom, I hear what you're saying, but I'm an adult. I can do what I want. Right. So, you just have to remind yourself that, like, just because your parents in a certain way too, doesn't mean that's how you have to do it either.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of something that I've had to put in my head, because again, we grow up, the way we think about money right now is the way we thought as a child, or the things that we grew up seeing as a child. So for me, I'm like, that's kind of what I've been working on in all the areas of my life. I'm trying to break those generational curses and, any change or whatever. I want those barriers. I just want to be able to stop those type of thinking. And the thing is, like, my mom, I feel like she's pretty good about money, but I don't hear anything about it. If she has any money issues, I won't ever hear about it. And I'm the same way. I will struggle and not ask for help at all. And it's like, why can't I just ask my mom for help or whatever? And I'm just too scared to ask anyone for help. And I think that she's the same way. And so I don't know if that's her independence and her, I don't know, just her independent mindset, where she's like, I'm not going to tell anyone that I need help. I'm going to figure it out. So I think I kind of, just was conditioned to be the same way, where if you need help, don't ask me or something, but figure it out yourself, like, I had to figure it out on my own. So now you have to. And so that's why I'm like, I had to. And the thing is, I'm the oldest daughter. I took care of all my siblings and my cousins because everyone just worked so much. So I had to take care of everyone. So now everyone looks at me as this role model and that I have all the answers. And the thing is, I don't. But the good thing is, I live in this 21st century where I can Google it and I can figure it out and I can find all the resources. And again, there's so many resources out there. So I'm able to, have access to those. But I just hate that I do have that role where people look at me like, oh, you have all the answers and you're so smart. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't know everything, but I'm trying to figure everything out. And that's exactly why I wanted to get into the social work profession, because I wanted to help others and make impacts in their lives and not really focus on the things that happened in my past, and just find ways where I can help others navigate through their experiences, even vulnerable situations. And I want to be able to just create an impact in my life as well. I didn't have someone like me in my life when I was younger. So I want to be able to be that someone for someone else in the future. So it's just an experience.
Remind yourself that you are like a mentor and example for those younger people in your life, because you are you are an intelligent woman. And I made the mistake for a very long time of believing that I needed to be perfect, that I had to have all the answers. Like, in fact, I had this huge feeling that I couldn't do this podcast. I couldn't make these courses because I wasn't the end all expert, meaning I didn't know every single teeny tiny everything. But then I asked myself, okay, but hold on, step back. Do I know more than most people? The answer is yes, I do. I know more than in a lot of spaces, right? Because I've done lots of very practical kinds of jobs. I mean, I have sold insurances, not just life insurance, also like car and homeowners insurance. Like I've sold all these different kinds of products. I have, like I said, I have a lot of I have all of this information. And so sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we are more powerful than we know. And if we have even one more piece of information than the person who's looking up to us, they're looking up to us because we do have things that they don't know. And we can help, right? And it's our responsibility to reach down and try to help pull them up, no different than everybody else. And you're right. We're very, very lucky and we're very, very blessed that we do live in an age where you don't have to rely on your family to help you. Because again, there is some shame and like some, whatever surrounding, and there's some family dynamics that come into play there that sometimes make it a little bit awkward to ask questions, especially if that's not the relationship you have with your family, that you can have those conversations and those chats.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, like I did another podcast episode with another friend of mine where we talked about tapping into your network. You have people that are touching your life somewhere. Yeah. And they may be in unexpected places. That part's true too, right? Don't worry about what they're going to say about you or if they're going to judge you. They might. But here's the reality. People are judging you every single day. When you walk out of your house, people are judging you, good and bad. They're thinking, wow, I love that lady's outfit. Somebody else is thinking, wow, her outfit is hideous. Somebody else is thinking, I mean, if you literally look at my YouTube channel and you look at some of the comments, like I get comments like, have people told her that she needs to use more moisturizer or whatever? And I'm like, really? That's what you're focusing on? Not the information I'm giving you? But hey, to each their own, right? Like people are going to be that way. So if this is talking about something as important as your financial future, don't be afraid because people are going to judge you anyway.
Exactly. And that's something that I had to kind of just really soak into my brain. I had to really remind myself because I've always, again, my childhood wasn't great. So I feel like I grew up to be a people pleaser, and with that, I lost my self-confidence, and I had to build myself back up my whole life. And so now I feel like I'm gaining my confidence back. And as we talked before, that I also struggled with using my voice and speaking up. And that's exactly why I wanted to join this profession, because I can advocate for everyone, but I can't advocate for myself. But now I'm learning how to. And so now I launched my podcast, and I'm happy that I've done, that I actually did it. And it stopped me for so long. That fear of failure stopped me for so long. But it's all about shifting your mindset and, just speaking positive to yourself all the time, because at the end of the day, people are not going to like you, no matter what you do. Even if you look perfect, whatever, people are going to talk about you no matter what. So it's all about what you think and just keep going, because at the end of the day, it's not everybody, you're not going to make everyone happy. And I had to swallow that pill, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe people are out there hating for no reason. Like, why are you hating? And it's so weird.
The younger you are, the harder that is to get over. So people probably already know on this podcast, I'm over 40. And when I turned 40 last year, it was like something in me just decided that, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to be able to please everybody, because I tried for so long, and seriously, don't make my mistake, right? If you're in your 20s right now, your 30s, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm killing myself. I'm trying so hard. I'm doing all of the things. You're never going to make everybody happy. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard I try. I can't make my parents happy. My brother and I have tried, and they still are critical of things that we do. That's just, it is what it is, right?
Reality. Yeah. And that's just something we all have to learn. And I'm glad that we're, able to say that, because people don't get it. And once you get it, you're going to understand how bad it is, but how important it is to remind yourself, just do what you want to do and just focus on your goals, because at the end of the day, it's only about you, and everyone else is either they're going to be with you or they're not. And that's okay.
Yeah, for real. Well, and I mean, like you were saying, I don't even know exactly what questions to ask. I always tell people, like, when you start in the financial space, start with the things that immediately touch your life, right? The things that immediately touch your life that you don't know about. So obviously most people are earning some kind of a paycheck. So do you understand it? Do you understand what's coming out? Why is it coming out? how that affects you or whatever, right? Start looking a little bit at taxes. Like, what does that even mean? What the heck do tax brackets mean, right? Almost everybody, when they're starting out, they've got car insurance because a lot of them are driving a car. If you live in a major city, that might not be your situation. You might be able to take public transportation. We live in the great state of Texas, and so getting anywhere without a car is really hard. So, you're going to have to do that. And you need to understand the basics of like how car insurance works. Why does it matter? Right? There is a lot of just basic financial principles that exist that people just don't think about. Like, one of the ones I talk about is risk. So for instance, in almost anything you deal with in the financial space, you're talking about a car loan, you're talking about insurances, whether it be car insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, mortgages, any of these things, one of the overarching factors is risk. Okay. So what I mean by that is every single entity in America, if you are a company, your goal is to make money. You are not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You do not care about the individual consumer, like like you're not going to just give them something just to give them something. As a general rule, okay, you have to make sure you pay your bills and that your bottom line works, right, from a dollar perspective. And so what people don't understand is that the way that they determine how to price those products, right, like for the interest rates, for what they're charging you for car insurance and all that stuff, it literally just goes to math. It just goes purely to risk. Okay. Good risk, you're going to get lower cost on basically almost everything when it comes to basic financials. Okay. Higher risk, higher cost. It is literally just that simple. Okay. That's like really drilling it down to like the basic. But so when you're going into it and you're asking yourself, well, I don't understand, like, why is this rate so high? Or why is this? I guarantee you it's risk. It has nothing to do with you. It's not a knock. They don't know you personally. They're not like, oh, I don't like Sam, we want to give her a higher rate because she sucks. Like that. I think that's what people think too, which is crazy to me. I'm like, just so we're clear, if I could be given out 0% interest rate, I would do it all day, every day. Okay. Like, that'd be great. But that's just not how it works. So a lot of times when people are thinking about the financial aspect in general, you just have to understand that again. And so like when you're starting out, when you're young and you don't have a lot of credit and you don't have a lot of background and money, and they can't see any of history so that they can base this risk off of, they have to give you that higher risk. They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because financially, they don't know how that's going to play out for them. It might play out really well. You might be uber responsible and amazing. And that's why they offer discounts like a car insurance if you have really great grades and stuff like that, right? Because it's sometimes an indicator of like how responsible you are in general.
Yeah.
And that's what they're looking at that. But just like on its face, when you're looking at almost anything in the financial space and you're asking yourself, well, I don't understand why this cost is as high as it is, I would almost bet you money it's risk.
Yep. That definitely makes sense for sure.
But a lot of people just don't think about that. You know what I mean? They just think like, I don't understand, why am I getting, and it's why when I start giving tips to people, I tell them, get a credit card early. And I know that that's very counterintuitive. People are like, whoa. Then I'm going to like start spending money like it's going out of style. Okay, well, you have to be responsible with that credit card. You do. Yeah. And some people will tell me, well, they won't give me a credit card. So just a little hack for those of you who are listening. If you're having trouble getting and securing a credit card, you can get something called a secured credit card. There are companies that exist that offer them. I think Wells Fargo does. Several banks will do it. And then you can go ahead and you can Google secured credit card. Basically what it is you front the money, however much it is, $200, $500. You give them the money and then they give you a credit card for that amount. So basically you're backing it yourself. Why would you want to do that, you ask? Because what it's going to do is it's going to start giving you positive reporting for your credit, okay? And whether you love this or hate this, credit is what most entities are going to base your life off of from here on out once you turn 18, okay? Yeah. Love it or hate it. It's just the truth.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Welcome to House U, where we believe in the power of education. At House U, we're more than just a brand. We're your partner in home ownership, dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering you every step of the way. Education is at the heart of everything we do. We offer comprehensive resources designed to make home ownership simple and accessible for all. From understanding mortgage options to mastering home maintenance, HouseU provides the knowledge you need to make informed decisions with confidence. We host workshops and seminars, bringing together experts and community members to share insights and build a stronger, more informed community. Because when you're educated, you're empowered. HouseU, home ownership made simple for all. Visit our website or contact us today to start your journey with HouseU. Empower yourself with knowledge and embrace the joy of home ownership. Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience, whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge. Join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. Financial Mastery Simplified equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future, your life, your terms. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at Financial Mastery Simplified. Start your path to financial independence now.
Now, back to our conversation.
I did have a question. What about, okay, and there's this whole thing and I'm kind of confused on it. So,
Sure.
hospital bills, student loans, all that stuff, because I've seen how it's saying that it's going to impact me if I don't pay. Like, I think, and the thing is, I could have sworn I paid it off. I had this bill back in Austin a couple of years ago, 4 years ago, and somehow they're still calling me about it, and I thought I took care of it already.
Medical bill?
Yeah, it was a medical bill, and I don't know why. And so I remember I was taking a toll on my credit, and I'm like, I thought I took care of it. That's weird. But I've been so busy, so I haven't been keeping up with it either. Do you
Sure.
think that, okay, so some people were saying, you don't have to pay your hospital bills, or I don't know. So I don't know. It's not, you don't have to pay your hospital bills, but they're saying like, it's gonna go away or something for your credit. I don't know. So there's this whole confusion there, and I need.
Okay, let me see if I can explain. So first of all, medical bills, the medical industry in general is notorious for overcharging, unfortunately.
Yes.
A lot of them do it. It's for several different reasons. One, their staff could have coded it wrong. So there's like coding that goes into their system that then goes across and pushes across the insurance. And if the code and what the insurance has the code as do not match, then the insurance company will kick it back and say, no, we're not going to pay it. And you sign something when you go into any medical practice that says that if your insurance doesn't cover it, you're going to cover it. Okay. That's why they take down your social security number and blah, 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 blah. A lot of people will not push back on the medical practice to see if they actually did their job correctly. And you can imagine that most people who are doing that billing are the lower level paid people. And there's a lot of different complications when it comes to medical coding. So they could just get it wrong. Okay. Like maybe they just fat fingered something, right? How many times have you ever typed something into a box and you typed it wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, welcome, right? Such is life. So a lot of times people don't fight up against them. Secondly, they're notorious for trying to push across to see if you'll pay bills, just to see if you'll pay them. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you should push back and see if you actually owe them, because a lot of times you don't actually owe them. If it does go so far that it gets onto your credit and it goes on as a collection, which does happen after a period of time, usually they'll send you some bills or whatever. Sometimes they won't actually. We've had that with clients where they were supposed to send a bill or whatever, and they never sent one. They just sent it directly to collections, which, by the way, is complete crap, but can happen. This is why I recommend all my clients, you are able to get one free copy of your credit report every year from all three repositories. So for those of you who don't know how credit works, you've got three main repositories. They are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. There is a website called freecreditreport.com where you can get one report every year for free. Now, it's not going to give you your score. All it's going to do is tell you what's actually reporting. I personally recommend that you do that roughly every 3 well, really 4 months. So do like TransUnion January, right? And then 4 months later, do Equifax. And then 4 months later, do Experian, and then start over again. Okay. So that you could get a fairly good picture of your credit roughly every 4 months to see what's reporting. You are allowed, if you do not believe that the debt is valid, to dispute it. Medical debts are actually one of the easiest debts to dispute. And the reason why is because of HIPAA laws. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act says that in order to report something on credit, you have to basically prove that the customer or consumer owes the debt, right? That they actually owe it. Okay. Originally, yes, you can put it on there. But Fair Credit Reporting says that if the consumer raises their hand and says, hey, Mr. Agency, this debt is not my debt, or prove that it's my debt, okay, then they have to go back and they have to verify it. And they have to send information in to show that it is a valid debt. Medical companies cannot do that because it breaks HIPAA law. Because how do they prove that it was your debt? They have to say what it was for. They're not allowed to do that. HIPAA prohibits them. They can't tell an outside party what this debt was for, right? They can't say, well, Sam had this medical procedure to do blah, 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 and, whatever, because the credit agency is not somebody you allowed to have your HIPAA private information, right? Remember, you have to sign that form when you go to medical stuff that says, like, here's the people I say can have access to my medical records, and you can pick, like, maybe you picked your mom or your boyfriend or whoever the heck it is, right, that you pick that could call on your behalf. Yeah. Well, you don't say that the credit agencies can do that. Okay. Yeah. So when people are telling you that you can have it removed, that may be what they're referring to. The other thing they could be referring to is that after a certain window of time, it stops really negatively affecting your credit score. And that's usually after about 7 years. Okay. So typically that's the case. But there are some ways to do it. If you don't want to specifically handle it yourself, depending on how much is dragging down credit, I have a lot of really good relationships with credit people who will help you get those things removed off. And they do it in a very legalized way where they make sure that the agency can't just like sit there, because that's what happens too, is a lot of times the agency, even though you request it, you dispute it, you say, I want it removed, they're slow to get it done. And let me explain to you why that is. So it's all about the money, baby. Understand that the reason that things get reported on your credit report is because they're paying money. So that medical collector, your student loan, your car payment, whatever it is, that company, the company that holds that loan, they're paying TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, maybe all three, maybe only one, sometimes multiple, it just depends. They're paying to have that reported every single month, okay? They don't exactly want to remove it because it's going to pay that. They're going to pay for it to be removed. You see what I mean? Like, there is some financial piece that goes into this, okay? And that's why sometimes it's just easier to pay to have it removed. Depending on what it is, though, medical is usually one of the easier ones to remove. I highly recommend you just disputing the debt and seeing if it'll come off by itself. If it doesn't, and there's other things that are touching your credit negatively, there are some options on how we can figure out how to work together. A lot of people don't realize that mortgage people have a lot of that understanding because of the fact that we touch credit all the time. So Are we credit experts? No, we're not. But do we deal with it enough that makes us pretty damn good at figuring it out? Yes.
Yeah.
We deal with it a lot. Does that answer your question?
Yes, because I don't want to, I'm tired of being in apartments. I want to be able to get my first house.
Right.
And I'm aware that first time home buyers, we have that, kind of wiggle room. So I want to know a little bit more if you know anything. I mean, I'm definitely sure you know. So I would, because I'm scared. I think for the most part, my credit is good, but I know that I have, well, it's good and, at least from for what I'm, building or what I was building. But I know that I do have those student loans and that medical thing that's probably bringing it down just a little or something. But I'm wondering, if I were to, want to apply for a house or something one day and soon, maybe within the next year or two or something like that, what does my credit have to look like? What do they look for as a first time home buyer? What is all that?
Yeah. So as a general rule, I mean, we work with lower credit scores than people think we do. We typically can go all the way down to about like 580 or whatever. But if we have time on our side, we want to try to get you as high as possible because it will help you. It'll help you in a lot of your requirements. It'll help you potentially have better interest rates. Like there's lots of aspects that'll help you. And this is where it drives me crazy. Like this is my number one pet peeve in my space is that people will come when they're finally ready to buy a house. But when they're in your stage, they're afraid to talk to me because they're like, well, first of all, I'm not ready yet. Okay, understood, right? And then second of all, I don't want the mortgage person to judge me. Okay, let me just tell you something. Any mortgage person that's going to judge you is not the mortgage professional you should be working with. Okay, just on its face, because our entire job is to help you get to where you want to be. Right? In full transparency, mortgage people, we're 100% commission. We don't get paid if your loan doesn't close. So why in the world would I not want you to close on your house, right? Like that, I want to do that. I want to get you to the finish line, right? And so what I always tell people is if you work with us early, like for instance, right now, we could go in and we can start taking a look at stuff, seeing where you ride and helping you maneuver it. We can also make suggestions, but I'm in all these groups on Facebook that people are giving advice and they're giving completely inaccurate mortgage advice and it drives me nuts. I'm like, this person does not work in mortgage. Why are you listening to them? They do not know what they're talking about. I don't understand. But they're sitting there giving them all kinds of advice because they'll like this happens a lot. People will say, hey, I want to buy a house in 6 months. And I'm thinking about paying off some of my debt before I buy that house. Which debt should I pay? And then they put all the details of what they're asking. And then all these people who, again, don't work in mortgage at all, may start making suggestions of what they should or shouldn't pay. And I'm like, if you really want to know what's going to help you the best from a purely mortgage perspective, then just call a mortgage professional. I promise. We will tell you, do this, don't do this. Handle that, don't handle that. Like our goal is not to tell you no. If you tell me, hey, Jax, you know what? This is really what I want to pay off. I'm going to say, great, pay that off. However, know that if you pay this off, it might change your buying power in this way. So I won't tell you not to pay it off. I'll just give you another perspective. I'm going to just give you another thought process, if you will, right? Give you something else to think about. What you choose to do, and I say this all the time, and again, part of the reason I created all of this and I'm creating courses and all the things is I want you to get to exactly where you want to be in life. If you getting the most badass van in the world and living in it down by the river is going to make your life exactly what you want it to be, and you want to be kind of drive around all over the country and that's what you want your life to look like, awesome. I want you to get there. And if you want to live in a multi-million-dollar mansion someday and that's what you want, great. I also want you to get there. Like no shame, no, whatever. So when it comes to you specifically, you need to have an idea of like what your timeline looks like and then have a conversation. Like we can have a conversation offline about, okay, here are some plans. Here are some things you need to do. One of the biggest things I'll tell people is don't go drown yourself in debt. For whatever reason, okay, all the soon college students that are coming out right now, hear me and hear me now. The very first thing you're going to do when you get out of school and you start making the big boy, big girl money, right? Man, like I got money. This is like, you were giving the example of like when you were like 16, 17 years old and you're working for Amazon and you got that money in your account and you're like, man, like this is a lot of money. Because when you never had that kind of money, it seems like a lot, right? You're like, man, this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily go out and just buy a car because you can't. I'm not telling you not buy a car. Maybe you need a car. Maybe your car is about to break down. It's about to fall apart, whatever, all the things. I'm just telling you that's not necessarily the best financial choice right out of the gate. Yeah. But inevitably, it is the number one choice people make coming out of school because they can't quite afford the house yet, right? Because we haven't like saved the money up and done the things and taken the steps. Okay, cool. Understood. Makes perfect sense, right? And maybe they're also not ready for that level of responsibility in their life. Also okay. Yeah. Life, like it is a big responsibility owning a house. Like there's a lot that falls on you. And some people don't want to take it on yet. That's okay. No big deal, right? Yeah. But just don't necessarily saddle yourself with tons of debt. I mean, I say the same thing about getting into student loan debt. Be very careful about that too. Because it is going to make mortgage a lot harder to achieve, that homeownership goal to achieve. if you're drowning in debt, baby, it's a lot harder of a road. I'm not saying we can't help you figure it out. I'm just saying you're limiting your options, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's something because I'm very interested in that. Buying a new car is not something that I want to do. That's not in my mind. If I tell myself if I were to get a new car, it either has to be already paid for because I don't want to deal with that insurance. That's so much to deal with, and I just don't want to deal with any car notes or anything like that. Like, I don't want to do that. I want a cash paid car if I were to get something new, and I don't care if it's old because it's just I want to take me to point A, point B. That's all I care about. But my main goal right now, I would love to move out and get my own place, something I can call mine, versus putting thousands of dollars into apartments. And I'm just,
Right.
for me, I just feel like it'll be better for myself and my goals to move into a house than move
Sure.
into another apartment. I just
Well,
don't know
and
what.
I mean, it is a better financial play. Sometimes it's not feasible. Sometimes people have to have a place to be, and they, can't stay with their family and whatever. But I always like to tell people, and I mean, I tell my own stepdaughters this is like, again, in anything in life, choose your hard, right? And so you have to kind of ask yourself, like, where are your ultimate goals at? I mean, I tell people that all the time. I mean, I'm literally about to drop a free budgeting worksheet that people can access that will help them, kind of understand where they're spending their money. Because honestly, step one is, where's it going? And even me, who knows this stuff, I mean, I know it. I still don't always know where my money's going. Like, I'm about to literally take myself through that process and be like, okay, Jax, where are you wasting money? Because I know you're wasting some. Where's it going? Because it's just the truth, right? Like, we all do this. And so again, when it comes to financial literacy and it comes to understanding financials, please hear me and hear me now. I don't care how much financial education you have. I don't care how many degrees you hold. I don't care what position you're at in life. I don't care how much money you hold, okay? It doesn't matter. No one is perfect at this. They're not. And if they tell you they are, they're lying to you. It's just not the truth, right? So you're going to make some mistakes along the way. You're going to stumble a little bit. That's okay. But you're going to try to be eyes wide open and really expand your viewpoint and your reach. That is going to help you more than anything else, right? And good for you for thinking that way about a car, but unfortunately, that's not how it works a lot of times, is that, and I trust me when I say I get it. I get it. I'm like, yeah, you get out and you're like, man, I want that nice car, because you can't own the nice house yet, right? And so like the next most logical thing you can buy that's expensive is a car. And so yeah, like you want to do those things. That's great. Okay. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you, before you do it, think it all the way through. Okay, if I do that, how does it affect me over here, right? Down the path, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is, right? And unfortunately, I would say that's the biggest mistake we made in our society as a general rule, is we've given this concept of YOLO. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with it, because truthfully, some of our grandparents that like literally never bought anything, and you know the type, they owned the same, like my mom literally is cleaning out her kitchen right now. She's getting rid of a wok she got when she was married. She's been married to my dad for almost 50 years. Why do we still have that? It's falling apart. Like, I don't understand, but it still works. And I'm like, well, great. Okay. But then we've gone to the other extreme where it's like, oh, I have one of those things, but that one is a different color, so I need that. And it's like, but do you really? And trust me, like, if anybody's looking behind me, you see how many cups and things like are existing back here? Trust me, I raise my hand. I'm bad about it too. Don't misunderstand me. But at some point, you have to ask yourself again, choose your hard. What's more important? And I can't answer that for you.
Yeah. Yeah. To answer yourself.
Now, before we have to go, because definitely we're going to have Sam on again and talk through some of this stuff and answer some questions and things like that. Is there anything else that is just burning in your mind you want to ask?
What do you suggest people start doing as if they're starting from scratch? Like, what is the first thing you recommend us doing?
That's a really good question. I mean, make sure that you understand the general basics of stuff that's already touching your life. Like, okay, do I understand how paychecks work, right? Do I understand, how to establish a bank account? Do I understand, like, just literally the very, very basics? And then also start creating a plan for yourself. Like, what are your goals? What's your 1-year goal, your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal? Like, what in an ideal world, right? With no limits, literally take the limits off. What would you like your life to be? What would you like your life to look like? Because you can't work backward and figure out how to get to that place without knowing where you want to go. Does that make sense? And then honestly, stuff like that's why I created this free budgeting thing, right? So like you can go and you can just start knowing like where your money is going and how it's affecting you. Because I'll be real, the negative about how much access we have to stuff is how easy it is to spend money. I mean, perfect example, right? So like I'm on Facebook. Facebook has me dialed in, baby. I mean, they know exactly what to advertise to me. Let me just tell you. They're like, ooh, Jax is going to love this. Like, let's show her, right? And so they're always showing me stuff. It's so simple. I can click on I get the ad. I click on the little link. It takes me to the thing. I click purchase. I don't even have to pull out my credit card, baby. I can click Apple Pay and it's done like that. Which is great for convenience, maybe not so good for my bottom line savings account. Just saying, right?
Exactly.
So we have to like make ourselves aware.
Yeah. Self-awareness is the most important thing. And I think that's kind of like where you need to start. Make sure what you know, what you learn and things like that. And just saying, okay, why do I have this mindset and how can I change this mindset? And that's kind of what I've been learning lately. And exactly why I want to learn and start that process, because I'm only getting older and I want to start now before I keep thinking like, because back then that I had a myth where about money where I thought, oh, I can save money when I'm older. Like, oh, I'll take care of that when I'm older. But I'm older now. So I need to get on it now because I already fell behind. But I know that there are some people who are older than me who probably still don't have it together. So I want to make sure that I'm going in and taking the right steps so I can pursue and meet my goals. So that's what I wanted to, gain some insight from you, especially you having this background.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think, like I said, guys, those of you who are listening, understand that no one is going to be perfect in this, right? And it is literally never too late to start. So even if you're listening to this and you're even older than I am, like it's okay. You've got to start from somewhere. Okay. And so don't beat yourself up about all the time wasted or whatever. Yeah. In an ideal world, you would start doing this even before you're technically 18, right? Start when you are making those very first checks, start saving some of that money, start building towards, your financial future and all those things. But sometimes that's just not how life rolls. Like it throws you some curveballs, or you didn't get that education or whatever. It's okay. You still have the ability to take the time and make things right and get to where you want to be. You just have to be intentional. So that was the other thing I was going to tell you is intentionality. Self-awareness is one piece, like you said. Intentionality is the other. You have to, if you want to get anywhere that you want to go in life, you have to be intentional. It has to be something that you seek and something that is important to you, right? I mean, no one is just going to come and save you. No one's going to just pull you out of the muck. If you're in muck, you're not going to get just pulled out of that. You have to do it on your own. And there are resources that are going to help you, whether it be paid or unpaid, right? I mean, as I've been given an example, I have paid versions. You can go and buy courses and stuff like that from me. You can listen to this very free podcast that I do. I offer as many resources as I possibly can, right? Use those things. There are people who will help you that will be in your corner. You just got to find them. And if it doesn't resonate with you, like for instance, if I'm not your person, like that's okay. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I know that. I know I am a very strong personality and I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. That's all right. Right. So find your people, go intentionally, be self-aware. And I mean, you'll get to exactly where you need to be.
Yeah. Exactly. It's all about networking. And again, you're intentional on what you want to do. And once you, again, shift your mindset, I think that's kind of like the big thing. Shifting your mindset and getting there to like, and stating your intentions of what you want, you'll find your people, you'll attract whatever, it is that you want. So.
Right. And honestly, y'all, the other thing I'm going to tell you is everything in life is hard. There's no such thing as like a free lunch or something that's super simple and easy. It's just not that way. Everything has an aspect of hard to it. It's just picking what hard do you want, right? I mean, then literally there's nothing, I mean, having money doesn't make life necessarily easy. I mean, more money, more problems. That's not necessarily untrue, but also the other is true, right? Being broke sucks too. And that has its own set of problems. So,
Exactly. It sucks
kind of decide what your heart is. I personally prefer the other one. I want to have more money, more problems. I'm more on this side of the fence.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, whatever you want to choose. But thank you so much, Sam, for being on this episode. We look forward to having you back. And again, thank you so much for listening. If you want to check out that free reference point that I told you about, the budgeting worksheet, feel free. I'm going to make sure that there is a link in the description here. And we look forward to seeing you back on the next episode of Financial Mastery Simplified.